All right, Shalom. First, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Machakodash, double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. Um, I want to do this video, okay, just as you can see in the title, okay, tracing or how to trace or find out, linking the so-called Caucasian race or the so-called white race, all right, with the Edomites of the Bible, okay? And so we're going to use the scriptures, all right, to pinpoint and identify who they are today. And I have a couple of precepts lined up here, so those will I just go through it and explain it. And then you can see that we're not just making things up. You have people that say that the Edomites are done away with and all that. But after we go through it and you see how they are, all right, the so-called Caucasians or, so-called white race today, you'll understand why, we refer to them as Edomites, because according to the Bible, they go back to Esau, Edom. All right. So we're going to start off with this. This is Genesis chapter 36, verse 1. And this is also good knowledge to have, all right, in case you are approached with that kind of question, all right, knowing how to, link it, all right, or how to explain it with the precepts, so you're not just parroting or you're not just saying it, but you know how to prove it. All right, so this is Genesis chapter 36, verse 1. Now these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom. Okay, so Esau, Edom. All right, Esau is the man, Edom is the nation. Okay, because they came from Esau. All right, just like Jacob, whose name got changed to Israel. All right, is our forefather. All right, and then you have the Israelites or the nation of Israel. All right, so you have the Edomites that come from who? Esau. Okay, so I'm gonna jump down here. Actually, I'll read verse 2 and then I'll jump down. Esau took his wives of the daughters of Canaan, Adah, the daughter of Elon, and the Hittite, and Ahilobamah, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zibeon, the Hivite. And I'm going to jump down to verse 12. And Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz, Esau's son. All right. And she bare to Eliphaz Amalek. These were the sons of Adah, Esau's wife. Okay, so Amalek is who? The son of Eliphaz, who is the son of Esau. Meaning Amalek, the man Amalek is the grandson of Esau. Okay, now from these men you have nations, their descendants. So anybody who's a descendant of Amalek is a descendant of Esau, meaning they would be an Edomite. Okay, so now let's travel on here. All right, this is 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 8. It says, and he took matter of fact, I'll start at I'll start at verse 7, 1 Samuel 15 and 7, just to get to the point. And Saul smote the Amalekites from Havilah until thou comest to shore that is over against Egypt. And he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. Okay, so Saul's commandment, what the Lord told Saul through the prophet Samuel, was that Saul was to go and slay all the Amalekites, all right, in that area, okay, with the sword, their sheep, their cattle, everything, all right. However, due to Saul's disobedience, he saved the king Agag alive. All right. Now, keep in mind, of course, in a time like this, obviously, not all the Amalekites, all right, in the world were destroyed. All right, because people migrate. So not you in that specific area where it's predominantly Amalek, all right, or Edomites, doesn't mean that all the Edomites in existence were in that specific area at that time. All right. And it doesn't mean that, hey, you might have had some of them that might have fled or might not have been at that specific area at that point in time. Nonetheless, you had Amalekites that are still alive after this event took place. However, that's not the point right now. The point is, it says here, verse 8, and he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive. All right. So Agag was what? He was an Amalekite. Okay. And that is important because now we know who Amalek was, what? The grandson of Esau. So if you're an Amalekite, that means what? You're a descendant of Esau, meaning you go back to Esau, aka you are an Edomite. Okay. So now let's jump on. So this happened in the Old Testament. Okay. But let's move on and see. Okay, showing you also that not all the Amalekites got destroyed, because now we're gonna jump. This is Esther, all right, chapter 3, verse 1. Okay. Now, mind you, the time of Samuel, all right, that's boy, that's during the time of war. That's even before David, okay? When Saul got this commandment. That's even before David, all right? And now you had David, and then you had the nation got split, and then you had the Assyrians and then the Babylonians, and now we're in the Persian captivity. So right now, what we have going on in the time of Esther, we're around what, like the 400 BC area. So that's a good long time. Okay. So it says, after these things did King Ahasuerus, all right, also known in history as Xerxes the first, all right. Um, After all these things did King Ahasuerus or Xerxes promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, all right, or Agagite, whatever you want to call it, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. All right. So within the king's court, you had Haman, who was the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite. Now, when you look up the word, you notice how every nation, all right, when you have a descendant from a nation, the ending will be ite, Israelite, Edomite, Elamite, Asherite, Ammonite, Moabite, because the suffix ite means what? A people of, okay, or a descendant of. Actually, let me see if I can get that here in the online etymology. Ite. Is it here? Okay. Right. Right. Ite, word forming element indicating origin or derivation from French ite and directly from Latin ita, from Greek itis, word forming element making adjectives and nouns meaning connecting with or belonging to, especially used in classical terms to form ethnic and local designations. For example, in Septuagint translations of Hebrew names in I, and for names of gems and minerals. See, so ite means belonging to. All right, often in classical times used as a form of ethnic and local designations. So your ethnicity. So if you're an Israelite, your ethnicity meaning what? You belong to Israel, or you're connected to the nation of Israel, or you descend from Israel. Okay, so if you're an Edomite, what? You belong to Edom. You belong to that nation. Okay, or that people. So here we're reading, it says what? Son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, meaning Hammedatha belongs or was a people or descendant of Agag. And if Haman, all right, was the son of Hammedatha, that means what? That means what? Haman was also an Agagite. All right. So Haman would say what? I am Haman, son of Hammedatha, son of Agag. Now, what do we know about Agag? Agag was an Amalekite. He was the king of the Amalekites. So if you're an Agagite, that means you're a descendant of Agag. And Agag was a descendant of Amalek, who was a descendant of Esau. So now we know that what? Haman, all right, was what? He was an Edomite. But there's more to this. Now we're going to jump in here into the Apocrypha real quick. All right. And see, we're in Esther here. Now, notice what they did was that they took out certain portions, okay, from the book of Esther. If you buy the physical copy of the Apocrypha and you go to editions of Esther or the rest of Esther, there's certain parts in there in the chapter before you read it, it'll tell you this is supposed to go in this part. All right, let's say you read Esther chapter 3, it'll tell you that this part you're about to read should be inserted after Esther chapter 3 verse 3. You see? So when you reach Esther chapter 3 verse 3, this is just an example. When you finish verse 3, you go into the Apocrypha, read that chapter, because that's really what's supposed to be continuing after verse 3. And then you come back and read verse 4. Why? Because they took it out. Now we're going to show you why they took out these books from the original Bible, okay? Because they were really trying to hide certain information. So now we're going to the editions of Esther, all right? This is chapter 16, all right? Now, mind you, like I said before, the editions of Esther and the book of Esther is all one. They're supposed to be together, all right? So this is editions of Esther in the Apocrypha, chapter 16, verse 10. It says, for Aman, all right, a Macedonian. Now, the Apocrypha is in Greek, so the words you see will be Greek transliterations, all right, of the words that you read in the regular Bible. Notice how it says here, "and the great king Artaxerxes," that is a Greek transliteration for Ahasuerus. Okay, so it doesn't mean it's a different person. It's just the Greek transliteration. All right, like it'll call Jeremiah Jeremy, okay, or Isaiah Isaias, or Isaias, you know, Elijah Elias. Okay, those are all Greek transliterations. So it says here for Ammon, and this Ammon is talking about Haman or Haman, like we read here in the book of Esther, the descendant of Agag, a Macedonian. Okay, so Haman was a Macedonian, right? The son of Amadatha, like we read here, Hamadatha, but the Greek transliteration is Amadatha, being indeed a stranger from the Persian blood, meaning by nationality, he wasn't a Persian. And the Persians go back to Elam. All right, they're Elamites. Haman was not an Elamite, because as we read, he was what? He was an Agagite. But it says here he was a Macedonian. Okay, so let's keep reading. It says, indeed a stranger from the Persian blood, and far distant from our goodness, and as a stranger received of us. So now we know that Haman was a Macedonian, okay, who was a descendant from Agag. So what does that tell us about the Macedonians? That they are what? They're Edomites. Okay, now we're going to prove that some more. Just keep in mind Haman being a Macedonian, right? Cool. Now we're going to jump here. This is First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1. And it happened that after that, Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Kittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and the Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece. This Alexander is talking about Alexander the Great, as you read about in history. All right, and when you look it up, he did defeat Darius the third. All right, king of the Persians. Okay, and that's when he took over the Medo-Persian Empire. All right, when the Greeks took over. All right around what 334 BC ish. Okay, but notice it says, okay, so and it says he was from the land of Kittim, which would be modern day Cyprus, right? So it says Alexander was a Macedonian, but who else was a Macedonian? Haman. Okay, so that means that Alexander and Haman were of the same stock. They were the same people. They were both Macedonians. Okay, because if Alexander is a Macedonian and Haman is a Macedonian, what does that tell you about Haman? Haman was an Amalekite who was an Edomite. That means Alexander was an Amalekite who was an Edomite. Okay, now we're going to find out who the Macedonians were. Okay, because what was Alexander known for? Alexander the Greek. Okay, because the Macedonians were Greeks. And we know that the Greeks today are who? Caucasians, Edomites. All right, so this is Macedonians, Greeks. It says Macedonians are a regional and historical population of ethnic Greeks inhabiting or originating from the Greek region of Macedonia in northern Greece, which incorporates most of the territories and the two capitals of the ancient kingdom of Macedonia. Today, most Macedonians live in or around the regional capital city of Thessalonica and other cities and towns in Macedonia, Greece, while many have spread across Greece and in the diaspora. Okay, so if we were to put this all back together to tie it in, because I know it's a lot of jumping around and a lot of linking, okay, but we know that the Greeks, all right, who today are Edomites or so-called Caucasians, Greeks are, to put it plain, Greeks are so-called white people. When you think of the Greeks, that's who you think of. Now, don't get it twisted. You have Israelites, all right, even going back to the Spartans, okay, the Lacedaemonians, the 300, okay, they were Israelites that were what living amongst those Greeks, thinking they were Greeks, because remember, Israel has been scattered throughout the whole earth, but nonetheless, the Macedonians are predominantly Greeks. We know the Greeks are Edomites or so-called white people, right? So now let's trace that back. If you have a Caucasian, that goes back to the Greeks, and the Greeks are who? Macedonians. right? So when you trace it back, who was a Macedonian? Alexander. Who else was a Macedonian? Haman. So that means what? Haman was a Greek. And in today's day would be what? A so-called white person or a Caucasian. But who does Haman go back to? Haman goes back to Agag. Who does Agag go back to? Agag goes back to Amalek. All right. And the Amalekites are a tribe of the Edomites, the top tribe actually. Just like in the nation of Israel, you have Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, which are different tribes, and Judah is the head tribe. Amalek is the head tribe of the nation of Edom. Okay. So Amalek being the grandson of Esau, all right, if you're an Amalekite, you're an Edomite. If you're a Macedonian, you're an Edomite. All right. So you see how this all links up? Okay. So when we tell you that because then if you say the Edomites are done away with, well, the Macedonians were Edomites. Okay. And the Macedonians were Greeks. And we know the descendants of the Greeks, we know they're walking around today. So why if Edomites are done away with, why do we still have so-called Greeks? Not even so-called. Why do we have them walking around now? But it all links up. And the key thing I want to mention too is that this is from the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha was removed. If you go and buy a modern day standard King James Version Bible, the Maccabees is not going to be in there. The editions of Esther is not going to be in there as well. Okay, because these are certain books that they took out of the Bible. Now, let me actually hit it right here. KJV Apocrypha, which the word Apocrypha means hidden. Oh, oh, beautiful. Let's read this. All right, let's see what it says here. I haven't read this. The Apocrypha is a selection of books which were published in the original 1611 King James Bible. See, and the regular Bible you have now, it's not in there. These apocryphal books were positioned between the Old and New Testament. It also contains maps and genealogies. Did what we just do, wasn't that a genealogical connection? The Apocrypha was a part of the King James Version for 274 years until being removed in 1885 AD. Now you should ask yourself, why was it removed? A portion of these books were called deuterocanonical books by some entities such as the Catholic Church. Let's look up deuterocanonical. All right, if it's canon, that means what? It's a part of the original, it's a continuation, or it's a part of the original. But let's see deuterocanonical, if I'm pronouncing that right, of sacred books or literary works forming a secondary canon. All right. So we know that what these books are sacred, as it just mentioned, because it has a lot of good information in there. But where was I? Was I here? Okay, good. It says, many claim that the Apocrypha should never have been included in the first place, raising doubt about its validity, and believing it was not God inspired. For instance, the reference about magic seems inconsistent with the rest of the book. Tobit chapter 6, verse 5 and 8. Others believe it is valid and that it should never have been removed, that it was considered part of the Bible for nearly 2,000 years before it was recently removed a little more than 100 years ago. That's right. Some say it was removed because of not finding the books of the original Hebrew manuscripts. Others claimed it wasn't removed by the church, but by printers to cut costs in distributing Bibles in the United States. That's BS. It says both sides tend to cite the same verses that warn against adding or subtracting from the Bible. Revelation 22 and 18. Check this out. The word Apocrypha means hidden. Woo! Now, if you're trying to hide something, why is that? If it's the truth, then you're not going to try to hide it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't hide the truth. But if you're trying to tell a lie, that's when you need to hide things. Because in order to tell a lie, you have to know the truth. But in order to succeed in making somebody else believe the lie, you have to hide the truth. Fragments of Dead Sea Scrolls dating back to before 70 AD contained parts of the Apocrypha in books in Hebrew, including Sirach and Tobit. There's some good stuff. It says, keep this in mind when reading the following apocryphal books. All right. Oh, look at this. Yo, boy, man. And these are the books. First, second Esdras, all right, which Tobit, Judith, additions to F. Look, they took out all these books, man. There's a reason. Because if in order for them to tell that lie that they have, guess what? They can't have information like this dating back to Alexander. All right, connecting it with Haman, connecting him to the Edomites. They can't have that information coming out. See, pursuant to Job 9 and 24, they're trying to cover up the faces of the judges. All right, they're trying to tell this lie, but hey, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, we're bringing out the truth, man. So I'm gonna end it here. Lord's will, this is edifying unto the elect. Hey, man, the Lord, like the Lord said, knowledge shall be increased in the last days. All right, and this is where you're gonna get the knowledge, man, from the true men of the Lord, pursuant to Amos 3 and 7. The Lord reveals his secrets to his servants, the prophets, man. All right. So with that, I hope this was edifying unto the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachak Wadash. Until next time, Shalom.